Hi guys, I'm live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is you're tuning in from. It's your girl Clara Alexander in the house. How you doing? Hey, it's Friday. Yay. Let's do a jig. Let's do a jig. Let's dance. Okay, now I've got that out of the way. So, what are we going to talk about today? I want to talk about God's grace. Yes. A couple of days ago, I talked about the month of May being a month for us to remember God's favor. And it's really funny because I've been praying for something and I've been asking God for God's favor over this thing that I've been praying for. And I've been really going deep with God, and just because I know I want to walk in God's favor, want to have favor before me, favor behind me, favor beside me. I want to be under God's favor. And this morning I woke up and God literally said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. I was like, what does that mean? I'm like, I'm asking for favor. You're telling me your grace. And I pondered on it a little bit and I thought to myself, yeah, actually, you know what? God's grace is awesome. God's grace is literally way above favor. And sometimes we focus on favor, but we forget that God's already given us grace. Like, have you ever had to, ask for a grace period, or if you bought something, the shopkeeper says, well, you've got a grace period of 14 days, and within that 14 days, you can return the product and no charges, and we'll give you your money back. No questions asked. You don't even need to tell us what's wrong with it or why you don't want it. It's just it's a grace period. And we have grace periods all the time in so many different things. And we're blessed to have them, right? Because if you didn't have a grace period, if you picked up something and it was the wrong item, you couldn't return it. And you'd have to pay the penalty of just picking it up. But God's grace is unmerited. And basically, God's grace does not have a period on it, period. So God's grace is not a grace period. God's grace is grace, period. How powerful is that? Now, the thing is that how do you recognize that you are actually receiving God's grace, or you understand God's grace? And I feel there's only one way in which we can show that we actually understand that we have received the grace of God, and that's by being thankful. And that's by having gratitude for the thing, just the fact that we say, like God says, we are saved by grace. So we have got salvation. So for people that have given their lives to God, giving their lives to Jesus, let me be specific, giving their lives to Jesus, they have been given the gift of salvation. And that was through God's grace. And God's grace is unmerited, i.e., what does that mean? What does that mean, Clara? I had to look that up in the dictionary. Basically, it means that we don't deserve it. We actually do not deserve salvation. We do not deserve for God to forgive us for our sins. We don't deserve it because of the many, many, many things, not only that our ancestors have done, but we've done. Literally, we sin every single day. I don't know about you, but I wake up in the morning and I have to ask God, forgive me for my sins. Forgive me for the things I've said about that person. I did not know. I don't know the person's situation. Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me. I'm asking God this daily. Forgive me for my actions. Forgive me for my thoughts. Forgive me for, for my ways. Forgive me for my disobedience. Forgive me, because there's always at least one area in my life for which I need forgiveness for. And if there's one area in my life that I can think of, I'm sure there's many, many, many more areas that I can't even think of. So when we're talking about God's grace, what does that look like? Well, it's all around us, because look, we can breathe in air and not even realize that we're breathing in. Imagine if there was no air. Would we be able to breathe? No. We can move around. We can smile. We can have thoughts. We can have so many different things. And this is all God's grace. What he allows, what he's given to us freely, even though we don't deserve it. He gives us blessings even though we don't deserve it. He brings great things. He brings the sunshine even though we don't deserve for the sun to shine. He brings the rain even though we don't deserve for our crops to be watered. He brings the night so that we can sleep well. He brings the birds so that we can hear them sing and they wake us up in the morning. So if we didn't even have an alarm bell, we'd be woken up by the sounds of the birds like singing to us. How awesome is that? How many times have you woken up in the morning and just gone, God, you're good. You're good. You're good. Yeah, you're good. You know, like before anything else, before giving God a demand, before requesting anything from God, how many times do we wake up and just say, oh, thank you, God. I am so grateful to you because your grace is sufficient. And it's so true. If all I had, God, was your grace, I'm good. And guess what? We got his grace. So we're good. We are good. We are starting from a platform of goodness. We're good. We're good. Anything else is a bonus. Hey? So like, I don't know about you, but I'm really going to go to this weekend just rejoicing in thanksgiving, in the joys of the Lord, in the things that he's given to me, in just the fact that I've got his grace, you know. And when God says my grace is sufficient, God's level of sufficiency is not our level of sufficiency. Our level of sufficiency is just like, oh, I'm just coping. I'm just managing. I'm just like doing a thing. God's level of sufficiency is way above what we can ever think or imagine. So when God says his grace is sufficient, it's not like you're not getting the booby prize. You know, you may be thinking, oh my gosh, I asked you for A, you give me your grace. I don't want your grace. No, don't ever say you don't want God's grace, because God's grace is massive. It is humongous. We cannot contain God's grace. So my thing today, and it's going to be a short one, as you can tell, like I'm whizzing through it, is just to like reflect and know that we already have God's grace, you know? We already have it. It's not because we deserve it. It's 100% unmerited, and it has no period on it. It is just like everlasting. God's grace is everlasting. So when you go off and you buy something and they're like, you got 14 days to return it, just remember, God's grace is everlasting. When you are struggling with your mortgage payment and they're giving you like a 6-month mortgage break, just remember, God's love is everlasting. God's grace is everlasting. Like, he doesn't have an end date on his grace. It is there for us forever. And we just got to remember that. And how to remember it? With gratitude and with thanksgiving. So I want you to go into your weekend with thanksgiving to God and thank God for his grace. You know, just give a loud shout to God and thank God for his grace, because his grace is all we need. It's sufficient. It's sufficient. God's grace is sufficient. Oh, I'm super pumped. I am so super pumped. Ah, you know, I'm just so grateful that God chose to actually speak to me and, you know, respond to my request, and to let me know that, you know what, yes, favor is on the way. Yes, he will give me favor. That is without a doubt. I have found favor in his sight, of course. And we all love favor. We all want favor. But you know what? His grace, yeah. You can't take away God's grace from him. And he's giving it to us freely. And we're just going to lap it up. We're just going to enjoy it. And we're just going to know that, you know what, he is faithful. And when he says he's given us his grace, and when he says it's sufficient, it is. That's all I've got for you guys today. So I do want to tell you that, you know what? If you don't know Jesus, oh, you got to get to know him. I really wish you would, because he is awesome and he loves you so much. Loves you so much that he will wake you up and tell you that I love you. Wakes you so much that he'll tell you that he's got grace for you. He's got grace for your situation. And you know what? If you ask him to come into your life, he will come into it, you know what, through grace, because he's going to extend grace to you also. So if you want a little bit of grace, hey, or if you want a lot of grace, or if you just want grace, period, then, you know, ask Jesus to come into your life, because he loves you. And you know who else loves you? I do. But you know what? If you're going to choose between my love and God's love, I'll tell you what, choose God's love. Why? Because it is far bigger than anything that I can ever offer for you. Take his love and grab it, because he's going to grab you as soon as you give it to him. So as soon as you give him your heart, he's going to grab it. He's going to take hold of you. And I tell you, life is going to be different. I'm not going to tell you it's not going to be a roller coaster, but you know what? We're doing life anyway, so might as well do it with him than not do it with him. So there you go. That's it. If you want to come and chat with me, I'm in the hub, www.claraalexander.com. Come and chat with me in the hub. Yeah, it's free to get in, and I will answer any question that you have. And if you just want to chit chat about mindless things and nothing at all, then yeah, come and say hi. Speak to you later, and guys, have a great weekend, and I shall see you next week. Take care. Bye.